write down this example here. Because we've done this before, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but there's a couple things that you need to make sure that you understand. 1, 4, 8, 1, 3, 6, 2. 1. To the nearest 100,000. Is that a 4? Okay, if I'm rounding that, if I'm rounding 1, 4, 8, 1, 3, 6, 2, to the nearest 100,000, the first thing you need to know is your, I guess, your place value. What number's in the 100,000th place, Sammy? The 4. So my choices are going to be what? My two choices are, I'm either going to make this 1,400,000, or I'm going to make it 1,500,000, because that is, I'm counting by those 100,000s. Those are my two choices. Okay, it's either going to be 1,400,000, 1,500,000. What number tells you which one of those two it's going to be? Okay, this is the number I'm rounding. It's either going to stay the same or become a 5. What number tells me which one of that's going to be, Peter? Yeah, the number after it. If that number is 5 or greater, you're going to round it up. If it's 4 or less, it stays the same, which really means you're rounding down. And since that's an 8, rounded to the nearest 100,000 is that. Now, how is that different than rounding decimals? What if I asked you this question? Round to the nearest 10th. And the number was 7.34. Same rules are still true. Okay, I'm still looking at the 3 in the 10th place. And the 4 is still the thing that tells me what I do with it. But there's one little difference between rounding whole numbers and decimals. Does anybody know what it is? Calvin?
That like when you round and you get zeros, just take off the other.
Okay, that's exactly it. Okay, my choice here, since I'm rounding to the 10th place, this is either going to be 7.3 or 7.4. I don't, when I make this number a 0, I don't put the zeros on the end, because if you're rounding to the nearest 10th, when you say the number, 10th is what the last word you should say is. See, this is going to be this. It's 7 3/10. If I left that 4 0 on the end there, I don't say it. This is no longer 7 3/10. This is 7 30/100ths, because you have to say that 0. So in decimals, the only thing that is different is when you have an ending 0 that's not the one you're rounding, you have to leave it off. Okay, so if I gave you, is that thing ringing again? Maybe it's desperate. 75.84963. And I asked you to round that to the nearest 100. To the nearest 100th, that would be, who wants to take a shot at that? Gary?
75.484.
Okay, I agree you're rounding the 4, but you look at the digit after the 4. Is that 5 or bigger or 4 or less? So what should happen to the 4? Yeah, it should be a 5. You should end up with 75.85. And again, all these get left off, because when I round, you know, if I would have left all those zeros on there, you know, now you're talking about 75 and what? 850,000 millionths, 850,000 millionths, as opposed to 75 and 85. The other thing about decimals is this, make sure you write this down. Let's say I've got 3.782, and it says round to 2 decimal places. People get confused with this, and it's too easy to be confused. What in the world do they mean when they say 2 decimal places? Peter, what do you think?
2 numbers after the decimal point.
Right. This is the first place after the decimal. That's the second place, and so on and so on. Third place. So if they're asked to round to 2 decimal places, it's the same thing as asking you to round to the nearest hundredth. And I don't know why they don't ask you to round to the nearest hundredth. Maybe it's just easier to say round to the 2 decimal places. Okay, that means you're rounding to the second decimal place, and your answer is going to 3.7 what? 3.78 to 2 decimal places. What would this be rounded to 1 decimal place? To 1 decimal place it would be, Gary? 3.8. Rounded to the nearest whole number it would be, that's just a 4. And again, not 4.0, because if it's a whole number, they just want a whole number, they don't want the decimal point. And then, what about rounding fractions? What if you have 35 and 7/15ths? And you're supposed to round that to the nearest whole number. The nearest whole number, what would that answer be? Grace says,
35,
why 35?
because 7/15 is less than half.
The only thing you need to look at is this fraction half or not? Half or more. Because if it would be more than half, you add 1 to this. If it's less than half, it stays the same. So fractions, rounding fractions, the whole number should be pretty easy. If it was 153 and 19 over 40, oops, 153 and 1940 is from 153. What does 153 and 2940 is? 154. And I think that's probably. Yeah. Okay, and then take out a blank piece of paper under S